Chris is in the middle of his journey plowing through, well, already plowed through a lot of stuff, resume, LinkedIn, compass statement, part of portfolio. So I think the first thing that we should do is tell us a little bit about what you're doing right now and a little bit about what you do within user experience. Like, are you more research? Are you more design systems, content? And then let's add a new question that we thought of this morning. Why did you decide to get into user experience, and maybe why have you stayed in user experience? So, Chris, I'm going to turn it over to you to kick us off.
Thank you so much, Sarah. I am a user experience designer, been in the field for about 30 years. How I got there was one of those accidental happy journeys of I'm of a certain age where I remember CD-ROMs and the birth of multimedia and was really drawn into interfaces and those experiences, which led to one thing to another to another. My last position, I was the sole UX designer, UI designer for a wide swath of products in home automation, health and wellness. So I literally was building a design system for me to keep my sanity, as well as help the developers. I had some light user research just because there was always so many hours in the day I was willing to give to the company, and really just kind of fell in love with the whole thing. I enjoy creating fun and useful experiences. So, and I've been in Career Strategy Lab. This is actually my last month. And like Sarah said, I'm pretty much at the finish line with sort of the base deliverables that I can use and go forth with.
Thanks. We are going to get into some of what those base deliverables are, because when I was kind of reviewing your journey, Chris, through Career Strategy Lab, what struck me was how diligent you were at doing everything quite quickly and not getting stuck. Like, I remember looking and realizing you had written the draft of your compass statement, I think within 7 or 10 days of joining, which is exactly what we want, so people don't get stuck working on it for 3 months or something. So we'll get to that and maybe what helped prevent you from getting stuck or procrastinating. I want to shift a little bit more to the topics of kind of like confidence and mindset, because I know if you put yourselves in the shoes before you joined Career Strategy Lab, to think about what you were doing, how your approach to your job search was, or if you had even started your job search, and just give us a sense of what was life like before you joined Career Strategy Lab, and maybe, what that shift was like once you got into Career Strategy Lab and started doing the work and working on your compass and your resume and all of the things. So Chris, we're going to go back to you.
For me, I mean, we had a heads up in December that, hey, sales numbers weren't hitting what they were going to hit. So it's like there was going to be a headcount readjustment of some kind. So I got to spend the end of the year going, what's next? I've been at the company for 9 years. And like I said, I was the only UX person. So it's like, well, on one hand, if they don't value UX, I'm out the door. On the other hand, if they do value UX, maybe I'm okay. I went out the door. And what I was looking for, I was aware of Sarah's work and I attended some things like this. So it wasn't, just a blind Google search for me. But I hadn't really been looking in the market for 9 years, and the market has evolved and changed. That job search world with all the automated systems and this is like, okay, how do I approach this, new world I've now landed in? Then craft and build my story. I was okay, initially going through from where I was like, hey, I had this body of work. I've worked on some great projects. We've won awards, et cetera, et cetera. But how do I turn this into something that I can tell and use in my job search? And for me, one of the things that sort of drew me in was I was going to be working with the CSL team. They spoke a lot of the same language. So, none of my friends, my good friends are UX people. So I start talking about the need for a portfolio and this and that, and throw on these buzzwords, and their eyes just start to glaze over. So it's like, who can take this raw material and keep shining it up until it becomes hopefully a nice diamond, and I wind up somewhere. So that was sort of the start of my journey. And to your question about me keeping on track, I have twins. They're almost 25, but for us, schedule and management was life. Otherwise, we would have gone a little batty. So that's why I'm a little diligent with my timelines and management stuff. So
Now that you kind of mentioned that topic of diligence and timelines and things, I think one thing that you also did very well was taking time out of Career Strategy Lab, because I remember one call, at the end of the call, you said, yeah, I'm going to go on my hike now. And it just, I'm imagining you were able to be so productive in CSL because you took time out of CSL. And as a result, like, you kind of didn't burn out. You know what I mean?
well, actually, I'm going backpacking tomorrow. I
There
spend a
you
lot
go.
of time outside hiking, and I really let that sort of be my natural sort of reset. I will, just let my mind just sort of work through the things. I mean, back when I was employed, I would just let those hard problems just whirl in the back of my head as I'm marching down a trail. And the same thing, I'm still applying that. And also, it's nice to step away from the screens and just sort of, think and focus on, hey, what am I working on? What do I need to improve in my storytelling and my deliverables? And also accept there's only so much you can do. You can't be like what Gerald Spool said, go into a closet and whisper, I'm a UX designer 3 times, and offers appear. It's a different world now.
Yeah,
So approaching this in a more of a measured, almost marathon-like fashion, and just accept it and just continue moving on, and let the sounds of nature offer a little healing.
I love it. And for anyone that wants to Google something after we're finished here, Google forest bathing, because it's this whole concept in the Japanese culture, and it's very much aligned with what Chris is talking about, just the idea that nature can be so healing and clearing for your mind and stuff. All right, we may get back to the compass statement here. The next question I'm curious about is, thinking back to everything you did in Career Strategy Lab, because if you're new to hearing about Career Strategy Lab, really, we've sprintified everything related to the job search. So you're all familiar with sprints, and so we have a resume sprint and a LinkedIn sprint and a compass statement sprint, portfolio, obviously. And I'm curious, maybe you cannot identify only one, but was there a certain sprint that really stood out to you in your experience?
Pushing the portfolio, I mean, as a UX person, we all knew that's sort of like our Everest problem. Pushing that aside, the LinkedIn, because I sort of took it upon myself, like until they find me, and have that sort of discovery in LinkedIn or vice versa, the portfolio isn't necessarily needed. And if you really just think about it, you got to hit that first step along the journey. So working through and saying, okay, how do I take this 9 years from this company and the 9 years from that company and distill it into something that a hiring manager can look at it, a recruiter can look at it and going, oh, this is what Chris has done, and I can extrapolate into my needs, and maybe the two things mesh together, because you can run down your subject matter expertise, acronyms, and, fine, there are 5 people on the planet who understand your little world, but wait, I'm trying to get into a broader world. So it's taking that and stepping it, in some ways sanitizing it, sort of generifying it into a fashion like, oh, okay, I get it. You're not an expert in home automation. I'm not going to pepper you with all this. And let's work and build that through. And also go back and tend the garden that you've neglected. Well, it's like I didn't necessarily, I mean, it was accurate, but it wasn't given the same love and attention as an active job searcher. It was good enough if something stumbled along the way. I wasn't completely like, oh, I have nothing. But at the same time, now I'm in a different place. This needs to, the weeds need to get plucked, the things need to get watered, the trails need to get tended. And that's, where I'm like, okay, with this in place, I have a cornerstone, and I can do what I can do, and I've done what I could do, and we move on.
I took a note. I'm just going to read it. tend the garden you've neglected. I love that quote. I think it's such a great analogy, right? Like, sure, maybe we have a resume or a portfolio, it's kind of like half baked, but when comes to shove and you need it, we often realize, oh man, now I have to rush, right? And so I think that's a great reminder for everyone to tend that garden. I love it. Okay, one last question because I love this question. I think the last one should be, what is one tip you would give someone who decides that they're going to do career strategy lab? Like, is there one thing? It could be super actionable, it could be some like mindset thing, whatever you want.
Yeah, it's just an easy one there. A lot of ways, I think, just trust in the process. I mean, it's like, oh my gosh, look at these sprints and all these things. And as I started working through and unpacking everything, it's like, oh, you know what? This is the support of the network and also the coaches and the staff and the other CSL members sort of giving you that sort of safe space to work through and hone and craft all this. And for a lot of us, we're unemployed. We're not necessarily in happy places. So having people to occasionally commiserate with and hopefully occasionally, shout out their wins was the boon. It's like, okay, I'm in a safe space to move through and develop these things, these artifacts as I continue on in my journey.
All right, so that is all the time we have time for, but this is my moment for all of us to thank Chris for your time, for sharing so openly about everything. Bye, everyone. Have a great rest of your day. Thank you.